Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and Brad and I are doing something a little bit different. We're doing the flaws with our top 10 games of all time. Now, we had just finished our top 100, um, and within that, I thought it could be fun to go over our top 10 and just talk about one flaw within each game, um, that is either I try to stay away from things that were like price or something like that.
Oh
That
yeah,
or we're
yeah.
just like, I mean, because a lot of the games nowadays are super expensive and they're not getting any cheaper anytime soon. So it's this was, I don't know, just something fun I thought we could talk about, and that if anyone was interested in what our favorite games were, there might be something about them to be aware of.
hmm
So, and I gotta say, man, this was really
It
difficult.
was. I was just going to say the same thing. It's like they're in our top 10 for a reason. It's hard to find flaw type things for them, but I was able to make it work.
Yeah, yeah, like, and I think that's something that's important with things that you really like is that you're able to find faults with the things that you love, and either and still accept them or work around them or maybe like them despite their faults. And I mean, for funny enough, for games that were later in the list, like eight or seven or eight, it was harder to find an issue with than it was with like my one or two.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
yeah, that's kind of somewhat similar with mine.
but that you would think it'd be the opposite, right? You'd think, oh, my number one would be the hardest one to find a problem with, but no, not really. I have no idea how long this video is going to take. It just depends on, I imagine, I'm curious because I know we have a few crossover in our top 10. I'm curious what if we chose the same
Right,
issues.
right.
But eh, let's go ahead and get started. We don't have the honorable mention, right?
Right.
Okay, cool. Well, and I'm hoping I have the right list pulled up. I double checked. So with my number 10, and we can just kind of go into immediately the game.
I guess that's true. We just
My
went
number
off that.
10, yeah, I don't have to do any preamble.
Yeah.
So my number 10, okay, cool. This should be correct. So my number 10 being Oathsworn, which is a phenomenal boss battler that is one of the few campaigns on the game on this channel that I have completed. The flaw that I have picked with this game is that it lacks replayability due to the secret boxes, the mystery boxes.
Yeah.
Um, And not all of my games are going to have to do with like components wise, because it's like, but the issue that I have found with this game is the reason why the campaign is as amazing as it is because you have no idea what you are going to fight next. Like obviously everyone knows about the rat. That is the very first boss you fight. They have to advertise something whenever they're making the game. And but from then on, there are 21 chapters. So you have 20 bosses that you have no clue. And the whole point of the story mode is for you to investigate and try and figure that out. And there's actually a like events in the story uh section that you can check mark that will give you be like, oh, now we know what we're fighting, so you can plan ahead, and you're always going to end up fighting it. There's nothing, it's not like a choice-based game, but what makes this so special is that every time you're popping open or setting up to do a new chapter, it's like, man, I wonder what we're going to fight today, and that is incredible of an experience. But that immediately goes away whenever you uh whenever you play it again. So, and I think that that is such a unique choice that they made, because that's awesome. And whenever they do more Oathsworn stuff, I want them to do the mystery box because that's extremely exciting for a first time play. But you're not going to get that same feeling the next time. Next time you do an Oathsworn campaign, you're really playing it now mechanically. You're playing it to do uh a different character, and that's really it. So that's kind of why it slipped in my top 100, first of all, was because it's like, well, I don't know if I'm always going to want to play it. But the gameplay, I mean, is it's so difficult to beat when you're comparing boss battlers. So,
Yeah,
I think Oathsworn is in your top 10 if
it is.
I
Yeah,
uh so we'll see what option or what issue you chose, but for me, Oathsworn, the biggest flaw is the fact that those mystery boxes, while amazing, it 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 helps it so much while also hurting it.
yeah, yep, I'd agree. All right. Well, my number 10 was Final Girl.
Oh, okay.
And this one is just simply the everything about this game more or less is random. It's the
Yeah.
randomness of the of what cards that the boss guy what is getting drawn, the dice rolls. It's all just random. So um, in a solo game like this, I'm good with that. I mean, that's why it's still in my top 10. It's a
Hmm.
solo aspect, but if you are really against randomness, if you don't like high levels of randomness, then this game's probably going to piss you off more times than not. Um, and that's kind of really the main crux of it. Like it has that it's it's about I'd say it's a little more random than Hostage Negotiator even. Um,
Yeah, because there's so many extra elements,
right,
like the terror deck, the items, the events,
right.
like all of that is now, I mean, for me, I think the randomness, if you really go theater of the mind,
Hmm.
helps the game a lot.
Hmm.
But for people who are trying to actually win, yeah, I mean, you could roll blanks the entire game,
Right.
and there's nothing you can really do about it. There's like the close call card that lets you
Hmm.
re-roll, but that's it.
Well, and that's the thing, because like the reason this one went up there, because I mean, I don't mind randomness. Sometimes it's kind of if you get on those bad streaks, but that doesn't obviously kill this game. But um, our friend Chad,
Hmm.
bought a version of this, a couple of deals, and he hates randomness, and he hated it and got rid of it immediately.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's kind of weird on one thing. So if you are not a big fan of randomness, then you probably might want to stay away from this one.
Yeah. That's exactly what I've heard from people as well. They're like, it was just too random. I'm like, I get it.
Yep.
Yeah, it is. And I also don't like all randomness, but I think with how thematic this game is, it doesn't bother me as much. But yeah, I mean, even I get annoyed whenever it's like, oh wow, another miss. So yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
All right. My number nine is Spirit Island. And funny enough, this one was kind of difficult because I wanted to be a little bit more specific with a lot of these. And with Spirit Island, there's so much that I like that eventually what I kind of just leaned on was there's just a high learning curve
Hmm.
for the like, and I know there are other games on my list that are like my number one. Oh, it's a 70-page rule book. I didn't want to do that for like every single one I have a different reason.
Right.
But I could just do, oh, it's hard to learn. Oh, it's a long rule book. But I think with Spirit Island, I mean, I could have done that board, that ugly
Yeah.
ass fucking thematic board. Um, but with Spirit Island, I chose the learning curve for the spirits. And the reason why is that because this game can be so asymmetric with how your spirit works and the synergy with this game and how all the spirits need to work together, if you don't really know how your spirit functions, um, you're not really going to contribute a whole lot to the team, and therefore you might be, a hindrance by taking forever to try and get rid of the invaders.
Right.
Uh, Now, while I wouldn't say this is purely asymmetric, because every spirit generally functions the same, it's not like Root, where it's like, oh, how do I play the cats? Oh, I have no idea. I've never played them. You can generally get away with that in here. It's like, oh, how do I play? I don't know, the wind that whispers in the trees or whatever they're fucking like the
Hmm.
spirit names. It's like, oh, I've never played that, but let me take a look. Someone could help you. Uh, but I mean, this game has a lot of moving parts, and because you're trying to figure out, okay, when do I use my fast powers? When do I use my slow powers? What elements do I aim for so I can get my cumulative element abilities on top of my innate special power? Whenever I level up to put my presence out on the board, which tracks do I go up? There's so much that you need to understand about your own spirit um, before you can really begin to help others. This game heavily relies on people who have played it a lot and kind of have gotten over that curve. Again, that's part of the charm and why I like Spirit Island is because it requires so much like synergy between players. It's not like, oh, I can kind of carry. It's everyone is contributing, which is amazing. If I can't, just because you can't be everywhere, so you have to rely on other spirits on other parts of the board. However, this is not an easy game. This is probably one of the more complex cooperative games that isn't some massive campaign Kickstarter. Oh, I guess it was Kickstarter, but it's not bloated. Like there's not like a 70-page rule book. So yeah, like it's just as simple as there's a learning curve and each spirit plays different, which again is amazing. However, if you're hearing that everyone loves Spirit Island, especially with fucking Greater Than Games, unfortunately being, I mean, closed for all intents and purposes, um, you might be like, "Oh, I want to check it out. I've heard so many good things." Just be aware that it's a heavier cooperative game, and if you don't like a spirit because you're not getting it, try a different one. But they also have easier spirits to learn. In fact, they kind of rectified my issue by making Horizons of Spirit Island, which was like that Target release, which was like it's like a easier to learn, more affordable Spirit Island that plays exactly like the game. It's not like baby's first Spirit Island.
Right.
Uh, but that's a great jumping off point. So I would actually just recommend going to get that, and then if you like it and you're able to grasp and move forward from that, then yeah, go wild with all the Spirit Island stuff. So yeah, that's my. I mean, this is I mean, what would have been yours? Because you don't like, or you don't have Spirit Island anymore.
No, I think it was the complexity of it, like,
Okay.
and I know that sounds weird with the games that I like, but like I would be playing this solo, and for a solo deal, there was just a lot of stuff happening and going on, and for some
Yeah.
reason, it just didn't click with me. Oh,
Gotcha.
yeah, because I've only played it the one time, and that was with you,
Yeah.
and you know, you taught it
Yep.
well and all. It just was, it just didn't hit with me.
Sure. Sure. Alrighty. Well, that's my number nine, Spirit Island.
All right, which brings me to my number nine, which was the Lord of the Rings card
Oh,
game.
okay.
And
God, where to begin on this one?
well, the biggest thing with this, and it did get fixed a little bit with the revised version, but it's still a thing you have to know going into this game that if, unlike games like uh, Marvel Champions and stuff like that, where your precons take you for each scenario,
Hmm.
this one you pretty much have to deck build between most scenarios. Not all of them, but you have to totally like it. And like I said, the revised isn't as bad as the original. The original was egregious at this. Like you'd do one scenario, and then the very next scenario, you'd have to completely change your deck. Like
It's like, all right,
maybe
that was fun. It's awesome.
change 2/3 of the cards of your deck just to make it
Yeah.
you succeed. Like it went from uh, you had this one deck that you started with, and then the very next scenario you needed to have eagles to
Yeah.
do well, and you had no eagles in your deck, so you had to totally build an eagle deck just to get through that one. This one fixes a lot of that, but it still has that. So unlike like you think about Arkham, it was another iteration of this game.
Hmm.
Like you're not really. I mean, you can deck build, but you're kind of over time, like updating your deck through a whole campaign. Like
Hmm.
this one, you may need to make big changes to your deck still if you're
Okay.
struggling, to get through a scenario. Um, so if you're not a big like deck construction person, which I am, it's just this one's so much better because at least you don't have to change your deck as much if you're going to change like you did in the
Yeah.
first edition.
I
But
think the deck construction idea, I mean, it's fine if you're playing Magic or
mhm,
Netrunner or something, because it's like, here's the deck I want to make, and I will make tweaks to it as I play competitively.
right.
But you're still keeping the core of the deck.
Hmm.
And here it's like, all right, here's the deck that I made. And now because the parameters of the game change, I am now forced to change my deck.
Right.
So I don't get to play the deck that I really want to.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would say that if you don't the best way to play the revised version is to do the saga boxes because those are a little better set with your precons where you just have to do
Hmm.
little tweaks because it runs through the story of the Lord of the Rings and stuff.
Yeah.
So those are the better way, I think, if you want to stay away from that. But then if you start doing their other campaign stuff, you still have to be making tweaks and
Gotcha.
everything. So if you're against deck construction, this might just know going into this that you will have to do some.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Or just bypass it altogether and get Arkham, which is, I mean, it's
yeah,
it's really the best of both worlds
I
because
have
it's,
them. I have them all the iterations of this now,
yeah,
and it's I like them all for different reasons. Like
it's so much.
this one doesn't use the chaos bag,
Yeah.
so that takes that randomness out a little bit. I mean, you still have
Man.
randomness, of course, but
Yeah, I love this one for because it's Lord of the Rings, but like the Marvel and Arkham, I mean they're still pumping shit out and I'm not keeping up with it at all. So whenever because I bought all this stuff whenever it was announced and then as I was unpacking it, I was like, I'm getting rid of it. I can't keep up with three Fantasy Flight games.
I am so
But
far.
yeah,
We'll see how long that goes, but
that's true. All right. My number eight is Slay the Spire, the board game. Now, the easy, like low-hanging fruit is, oh, just play the video game. Like it's so close. Like what there's not even a point to playing the board game. But they made this cooperative, and that's why it's amazing. So I went with it is a roguelike where you completely reset when you lose. Now, there are somewhat permanent changes whenever you actually beat the game, but until you do that, which is making it through three acts, if you're not a fan of roguelikes, which is the term for that is it's a game that you completely reset whenever you die. It's a huge, really up and coming video game genre. It's been around for a long time, but it seems like it's really making its heyday nowadays. Uh, but the problem that a lot of people have with that is whenever they are made doing a run and they die, it basically completely resets. You can make it all the way to the final boss, die, and then you have to start all the way from ground zero with your basic weapons and so on and so forth. Now, a lot of games have come out where there's meta progression where, oh, now you start with more health. So you always do a little better each time. Slay the Spire does not do that. It is a pure deck builder that you are randomly setting it up every single time. So if you make it all the way to Act 3 to the final boss and you die, you have to start all the way from Act 1 and you have to completely reset your deck and rinse and repeat. Now, again, for me, because I like roguelikes, that doesn't bother me in this game because I know ahead of time that that's what's happening and that gives me something to aspire to overcome and be like, okay, let me try a different build. But let's say, I mean, it's also a deck builder, so the problem, it kind of goes hand in hand. If you are, you have a really awesome, like all the cards fell where they needed to get a really fantastic deck, but you just drew poorly. I mean, that's just the way it goes. And it's like, all right, yep, got to start over. And because it's a board game, it's not as quick to reset. And that's kind of the overall issue with a lot of board game roguelikes. It's like, yeah, I see the roguelike elements here. I see what you're going for. Unfortunately, your game took me 2 hours to play, and the video game took me an hour, and I lost, and I reset in 2 seconds versus the 10, 15 minutes it takes to do all that. So there's a lot that kind of goes into making the roguelike element not work because for me, if I'm playing Slay the God, that freaked me out. My dog's just barked. Um, if I'm playing Slay the Spire, I'm not playing multiple runs. I'm playing it the one time, and it's like we'll see how far we make it. If we win, like if we make it all the way through Act 3, then that's awesome. But if we don't, then all right, we're packing it up. It's not like, oh, let's try another run. Versus if it was a cooperative video game, we would do multiple runs. I was just playing a roguelike the other day and it was cooperative and it's like, oh, we lost. All right, let's just do another one because you have that capability. So this is a fantastic iteration of the video game. It was a game, I mean, it's in my top 10 because I really like the video game and I stayed away from this for so long because I'm like, I'll just play the video game. But the fact that it's cooperative, it really elevates it. However, if you don't want to start all over whenever you lose, and you're gonna lose because it's not an easy game, then you're not gonna like it.
Right.
So
Yeah,
that's my number 8, Slay the Spire.
perfect. Well, my number 8, I'm jumping into the Oathsworn, and this one I bumped around which one I wanted to choose as my main one, but I think I leaned towards the same one you did.
Okay.
The replayability of it. Um, Not just because of the mini bosses, but because of the, I guess you would call it the like the town aspect
Oh, okay.
beforehand, because you go and you do these different things in the towns to get these advantages or whatever. And if you know those on the second playthrough, you know kind of where to go and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
again, but my other one I was weighing around with, it was just like the setup and teardown time,
Yeah.
because it does have a lot of that too. But
What I eventually started
yeah,
doing, I don't know if you've done it. I quit doing the 3D terrain. Like those tile like because it makes targeting and enemy AI so much easier when you just have the tiles.
yeah. I think when you taught it to me, we just used the tiles.
Did we? Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I might have.
yeah.
And
I
yeah,
think we did.
by the very end, it was like the last 2 or 3 chapters. I was like, I'm tired of these fucking trees and this building. So I popped those down, and I'm like, oh my God, it makes it so much easier to figure out how the monster is moving.
Yeah, yeah. So those were kind of the two
Yeah.
options I came between. But I think the replayability is the biggest one with this. Just knowing that. And mind you, I haven't finished the campaign yet, so
Hmm.
so I mean, I still have more to go. But um,
It gives
yeah,
Pandemic Legacy vibes. I know you don't
right.
like Pandemic and stuff, but that experience you will never recapture. But the experience, it doesn't take away from the experience. It's just like, man, that was so awesome. And I mean, it leads them to make another one, which we know they're doing. So, like, I wouldn't want them to do that without. I want the same Oathsworn experience. Um, but I mean, yeah, God, it is kind of hard because then it's like, okay, the mechanics of Oathsworn are so amazing that, man, what if they did nix the mystery boxes and just made it to where it was kind of more choice based? It's like, would that be better because we'd get more bang for our buck, or is the experience that good that it's okay?
I think keeping the mystery boxes personally.
You think so?
Yeah, because I mean, like for me, this wasn't as expensive as this game was. It wasn't like outrageously expensive.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so the amount of time I've put into it already, I feel like I've gotten my money's worth, even if I'm not
Oh,
going
I
to
mean,
replay it
yeah,
through, you
I
know?
agree. I mean, and
So
again, it the complaints that we have with this one are unfortunately everything. I can't recapture the feeling I had watching Lord of the Rings for the first time. You can't recapture the feeling of watching Gladiator 2 for the first time. Um, um, but you learn to appreciate things a little bit different. Or because I just watched the first Lord of the Rings like a couple weeks ago, and for some reason, because it had been so long, I was worried that I was like, man, am I gonna be jaded now? Am I gonna be like, oh, this actually isn't as good? I loved it even more for some reason.
Yeah,
Um, and I think that's kind of the way it is. The story is still amazing. In fact, the guy I did the campaign with, Devin, he's redoing it with two other people, and he's letting them make all the decisions. So he's kind of living, was it vicariously through them, but he's also playing now mechanically. He's like, I want to try the Warden, or I want to try I don't know, the Exile, and that's kind of how you start to take it. However, the secret boxes are really cool. And if you're wanting replayability where something is new and fresh every single time, it's not this game.
exactly.
So, all right. My number seven, and I think you're going to very much agree with me on this. My number seven, is Aeon's End. And again, whenever I mentioned earlier at the beginning of this video how number seven, number eight were kind of hard for me to come up with an issue, mechanically, I could not really think of an issue with Aeon's End because it's a pure deck builder. If I have an issue with this, I have an issue with all deck builders. But they actually fix it in this one with the flipping of the deck. So I went with it is bloated content with tons of standalone expansions with a continued story.
I would agree wholeheartedly. And there's more, and there's more coming to
And there's
Game
more
Found here
coming.
soon.
Now, funny enough, on the latest expansion, um someone in my comments was actually he didn't like the expansion because he thought that the nameless were some of the worst that were released based off mechanisms. I personally didn't find that. I thought that the fact that because they introduced something new every single time, a new mechanic, a new system. The latest one was a bigger change with the friends and foes, which they're taking into the new expansion. However, if you're coming in and you're like, oh, I've heard Aeon's End is good, what do I get? Well, there's 17 standalone expansions, so you don't really I mean, yeah, you can find the information. It's not like, oh, we don't know. Like we do, but if you get the base game, or I mean, or God, if you're trying to follow the narrative, it's like, okay, the base game is it didn't have a story. It had a theme. But now, with the latest story in the latest expansion, it leads into the base game. In fact, one of the mini expansions adds a narrative to the base game. So it's like, well, where do you even begin? Because they've leaned heavily into like the four-part mini expeditions on top of the two legacy games that are hugely narrative. It's like I feel like whenever they were making it, they were like, oh, well, what if we wrote a story to it? And then they kind of were like, ah, we fucked up, but we have to keep doing that. Because the story is serviceable. It's
Right.
fine. Like I love that they're expanding upon the lore because this is relatively unique. And they've kept going with it. But that works for me because I've been on top of it every single expansion. So I'm able to be like, oh, like whenever I played the newest expansion with my girlfriend, I was going back whenever I was organizing it all. I'm like, oh, this character that they mentioned, here he is. And actually, what happened to him, I'm able to give like lore background, like some weeb. But man, if you are not on top of it, you're missing so much stuff. Now you
Yeah,
could
no.
ignore all the story stuff and just like, rip open all the packages and play the game, and it's a fantastic deck builder game. But then, I mean, just really, if you're gonna do that, pick a box and you're solid. But it's not the same way as like buying a Dominion expansion where you don't have any extra stuff to ignore. It's like, oh, here's this new cards. Uh, so yeah, this game is I cannot believe that they're doing more.
I know.
Like
I'm almost
I
to the
was like,
point like
yeah,
I don't even know if I'm gonna back it. I haven't even because I haven't even played half the crap I have.
yeah, dude. I mean, at this point, I don't know why they haven't developed it. Oh, they did develop an app. It's on Steam. It's not an app, I guess, but they do have a video game, but I don't even think it's close to Aeon's End. No, they have like two DLCs, so they pretty much quit supporting that. So I don't know. Like this one was a little bit difficult for me to come up with a flaw, but I think unfortunately it is a pretty valid flaw where if you're trying to budget, you either have to sink start pumping money into the rest of the game if you want to stick with the narrative, or and if you don't care about the story, then you're buying a random box and then you're just opening secret envelopes I mean, and then you're going to be overwhelmed with all these stuff that they slow roll introduce to you throughout the mini expedition or the campaign. So it's almost easier to kind of look up on BGG, a forum where they tell you, hey, here's the order of the narrative. Just buy them in this order. So yeah, that's my number seven. Bloated content with got
Yeah, that
8
works.
standalone expansions and a ninth on the way.
Yep, it's crazy. All
This
right.
is like whenever
Oh.
someone comes up to you and they're like, "Hey, we're having another kid," and you're like, "Oh, oh no!" Like, really? You sure? You sure about that? That's your sixth. You can't afford five.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's how this one is. But
yeah,
hey, current economic crisis, these games succeed.
that's true.
You can print cards in in the US.
Yep, very much so. All right. Well, my number seven was Set a Watch. Um,
God, where to begin on this?
well, this one I kind of bounced around with a couple as well. One of the ones I considered was the AP of it because it is a big puzzle game. It's a lot of math when
Mm,
you're trying to figure out different stuff. Um, but I think the biggest issue that can arise to with this game if you're playing it more with solo, obviously, because if you can't do this solo wise, is the quarterbacking aspect of this game.
mm,
And I know a lot of cooperative games have that anyway, the possibility. This one though, if you have that person that really wants to try to take over, like they can this game you can really that can really be a factor
okay.
because there is a certain order you because like I said it's a puzzly math game so like
Hmm.
you are trying to figure out the best way to do this and this and I played a four-player game with with a person like this and they were just like nope we need to do this and this and this and I mean they could like lined it all out and it was like oh, why are we even here then
Yeah,
um and so a lot of it that's group dependent but it if you have somebody in that group that is like that then this one really could fall into that trap.
yeah.
Um,
I feel
and
like I definitely think that quarterbacking is a player problem because they clearly value winning over, you know, group fun. However, I to counter that, I really think, like you're saying, that some games lean more into that
mhm.
than others. If this is a more logical game where it's like there is a right way to do things at with what we're given, yeah, you could let it's like, oh, yeah, let's do what you want to do. We'll lose, but
Yeah, and and there's even like the aspects of at the beginning of each round because everybody rolls their dice, and then you have to pick somebody to stay back at the campsite. So then that's even a thing. It's like it just gets that's why I like this game with solo. I mean,
yeah,
unless I know the people I'm playing with and know that but solo is really good because you always play with four heroes no
yeah,
matter what time, and it's just easier when you do solo. Just like okay, this one rolled bad, he's gonna sit back at the camp and do
yeah.
stuff.
Why would you set this one out, bud?
Right, right. But each player can only sit at the camp twice throughout the
Yeah.
whole game, so it's like you have to be smart about it. But yeah, I between AP and quarterbacking because AP also is a big deal with this game, even though that's not
Hmm.
my main one because of it being such a technical puzzle type thing. You get those where people are really sitting there thinking, taking long turns and stuff. But yeah, if you have a group and you have a person that's kind of a headstrong person that quarterbacking definitely could be an issue with this game.
Okay. All right. I think that's valid. I mean, I mean, honestly, I you could put that for any cooperative
Oh
game, but
yeah,
I
yeah.
I do agree that a lot of the games, I mean, Pandemic has that problem. That's usually the one that gets brought up of
Mhm.
quarterbacking. It's like, well, that's that player's issue. It's like, I agree. However, if you're trying to respect the game and everyone is trying to cooperatively win, then there are certain decisions that are better than others. So, um, and a great example is whenever I did someone else's copy of Pandemic Legacy, it was like, okay, if we just do these couple things, we'll win. And then one player just didn't do one of those things, and he went off to the other board, which caused an outbreak, which let the infection spread from Asia over to North America, and that fucks you for a lot of the game. And it's like, and we were like, why would you do that? I wanted to do something different. It's like, I can't believe you. I can't like, which I mean, looking back is really funny because that's it's like, well, why did the infection hit North America? Well, some fucking idiot didn't do their job,
Yep.
and look where we're at. Ebola is spreading in the in the States. So, it makes for good story with that. But yeah, in the moment, we were everyone at the table was fuming, and he's like, oh. So it's like I hate you. All right. My number six was the newest game on the list, Leviathan Wilds. And to be completely honest, this one was the hardest one to come up with only because I haven't played it as much as all the other games on my top 10. Um, so it's limited. I mean, I could have done the ring. That's stupid. That
Oh yeah,
stupid ring.
yeah.
But I only chose one game where it was actual components that I can quickly think of. So in this one, I chose that Titans, or whatever they're called, Leviathans, can be trivial with certain climber combinations. Um, and to kind of expand upon that is there's not really uh ways to kind of counter that. I mean, yeah, you can start on a harder difficulty, um, but or you could do the corruption pack, which is an expansion. But if you don't have that, then you just have the I feel like board game difficulties are somehow radically harder than video game difficulties. And I think it's because they just like they're harder, but they rely so much on randomness, so there's just that compounded that it's like, I mean, have you ever tried a board game and put it on the hardest difficulty and be like, yeah, it's like, why would you? It's because it's clearly curated for the standard experience.
Right,
Whereas if you jump it up a difficulty, it's like, why are we even all of like in this game? If you started with a harder difficulty, it'd be like, okay, all of these start blue side up.
right,
Okay, cool. We're just fucked from the beginning, and there's no way we're winning. And we have to draw perfectly and play perfectly. Whereas video games, I feel like it's like, well, I'm good at the game, so I have to bump up the difficulty. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like board game difficulties are something else. However, I've had multiple games of this where if you have a really good job and character deck combination as a climber, you can mow through Leviathans. Uh, and while I wouldn't necessarily say that's a meta, it's kind of a meta. It's like, oh, I fought this Leviathan before, so I'm gonna do this class and this. I don't remember the two decks, but
right.
um, and that ability alone is gonna give my extra cards make them that much better. So this boss really isn't a problem. Um, and for me as a player, I don't like metas in games, especially cooperative ones, where if you're able to easily beat the the bosses or beat the game, you kind of figured it out. Because really, at the end of the day, almost every cooperative game is some sort of puzzle. Once you figure out the puzzle, there's no more challenge. Now, I also say that by with in regards to only the Leviathans that I have faced, which is not all of them. So just the ones that I have seen where some games it's like, oh, this was actually really difficult. for some reason, even though we fought them last time and it was incredibly easy. I also think player count changes how this game functions, mainly because of that oversized ring. It has more people to affect. If it's like, oh, boom, it's hitting Brad and it's going to hit three squares or three dots away from where he's at. If it's one other player, it's like, well, I'm not even anywhere near him. So who cares? But if there's three other players, higher chance that someone is around you to be affected and you lose whenever someone's corruption and health meet. So, uh, I think player count on top of climber build is this game's biggest flaw that I could come up with. Again, I haven't faced every Leviathan. A solid one could be 10 out of the 16,
I think so.
16 or 18.
Yeah.
10 out of them, could suck. I don't know. I haven't fought every single one. But so as of right now, um, we'll see. We'll see how this goes. But yeah, I stretched on this one because this is my least experienced one.
All right. My number six was Arkham Horror, the card game. Um,
And it's the deck building, deck construction.
no,
You do
actually,
these.
this one I
You,
don't mind, just because you're slowly changing your
yeah,
deck
you
over
almost
time.
start with the precons. That's what
Yeah,
I
because
do.
you well, and then you upgrade your deck. It's not like
Yeah.
you're changing your deck.
Yeah.
It's
You can deck build from the very beginning,
right.
but just start with the precons that they tell
Yeah.
you.
I think the thing, so I have a love-hate relationship with an aspect of this game, and I've grown to be okay with it, but I know with people that I've played this with that absolutely hate this aspect of the game, and that is the chaos bag.
Mm,
Um, so again, I guess you could go to strike this with randomness again,
yeah.
but the chaos bag I've grown to be okay with now. But I know a few of the people I've played with like won't play it anymore because of it, because it was so random that it would screw things up and everything. So that's really the biggest aspect of this one. Because the people I've played this with and showed them to, there hasn't been any other issues. It's fairly easy to teach. It's fairly easy to run
Hmm.
through. Um, but the the constant thing seemed to be this the randomness of that chaos bag. Um,
Yeah.
and
Mainly
stuff.
because the bag is like three-fourths negatives, and you're leaving yourself no room for error when you play. It's like, okay, I need to get a 0 or a positive, -1, and I failed. Like it's like what am I supposed to do?
Yeah. So that's kind of the biggest aspect of it. It's one of those things you just need to learn to get used to it, I think. Um,
Yeah.
and because it does slap you in the face early
Hmm.
until you understand, how to handle it and how to take that risk, and stuff like that.
Yeah, because you don't ever like the bag never gets easier. You're always if you draw like a -2 or a -3, it just goes right back into the bag. So it's entirely possible to keep drawing that. And I mean, you have cards in your hand that you can like add to your skill check to be like, okay, I'm sitting at my skill check is a 4, I have 7. So, if I don't draw the red token, then no matter what, I will win. But you have to pump a lot of resources into that, and you could still fail if you draw that red token.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yep.
I mean, I agree.
That's really the biggest thing with this one. I kind of stretched on this one as well a little bit, but that was seemed to be the thing that people I've taught disliked about it the most.
Yeah,
So
I could definitely see that, especially in some campaigns. Um, the bag gets worse. You add more negative tokens to it. It's like, okay, like I think there are some ways for you to add in positive ones, but not many.
no.
All right. My number five, which I know is in your list, and I would imagine you picked the exact same reason I did. So my number five is Cthulhu Death May Die. What is it, Brad? What's the flaw? It's
Tiles.
it's those fucking tiles. Yeah, this is the only one that I picked an actual component
Right.
because I mean you can find a flaw with almost every single game's components but unfortunately this is a miniatures game that pumps a lot of minis onto the board, and it would be one thing if those minis kind of moved based off a card effect, but if you ran past them or something, they stayed there. They don't. If you run past them, if you don't have like an ability that lets them ignore you, they follow you. So these tiles are incredibly tiny, and they bunch up with these minis that it becomes an issue. It is a very well-known issue that for some reason they made the tiles tiny or the miniatures too big. If they wanted tiny tiles for board space or table present or table space, make the minis tiny, tinier anyway. Because then eventually, I mean, you have tokens, you have like other elements that are getting put on the tiles. It's not just minis that you can't see. Um, Doorways, elements of the board that you need to be able to know are there so you can beat the scenario. I almost went with, now I haven't personally played it, but that there are some unwinnable combinations
Hmm.
or damn near
Yeah.
unwinnable.
Yep. I found one of those.
Yeah, I've almost went with that, uh, but I haven't personally ran across that. So I went with the standard. When everyone complains about this game, the tiles are they're honestly a hindrance
Yeah.
to an otherwise great game. And especially whenever the god, if he arrives, put him off to the side. You almost don't want like I would actually rather have chits
Yeah.
or standees because these minis aren't great enough or functional enough to justify how much of a problem they are. Uh, so, and it's not like, oh, well, this is the one. We didn't kill enough, so it got overcrowded. No, there's always minis. They're always moving. They're always in your way. Not in like a thematic way where it's like, oh man, to win, I have to get through that room of cultists. No, they're in your way physically while you're playing the game. It's like, to play the game, I have to get through these cultists.
Exactly.
So it is really unfortunate because you don't want to play a game where the physical aspect of it, which is why a lot of people like board games, is the physical. I'm touching what I'm playing. You don't want that to be a problem, and it is here.
Yep.
So, and I was really hoping when they were doing seasons 3 and 4 that they, for no reason, would do like a tile enlarging pack.
Yeah.
But I know they weren't gonna do that. That was my fever dream.
I think the only reason they did it was just for money purposes. I bet just because I think the game was expensive as it was. If they went big with tiles, it was just going to make it that much more. And they try to keep them under a
I
price point, you know?
I guess like that makes the only sense that they would be like, hey, what if we made a stupid decision? Money? Ah, there we promotion. So that's my reason for number 5. Stupid tiles.
Yep, I would agree. I'll probably say the same thing here in just a little bit. I got to open my door real quick.
Oh, okay. Oh, I was about to go in this whole. I didn't know what door you meant. I was
It's just
like,
that one. My dogs were freaking out because I was in here by myself.
gotcha.
All right. So my number five goes into the other LCG. I've had all three of them in my
I
top
did
10.
not know you had all 3 in your top
Yep,
10.
all three in my
I
top
didn't.
10. This one, I kind of fought back and forth with it a little bit. It has so many benefits to it and stuff. But I ended up landing on uh, the fiddliness of the game is
Okay.
the only just because you get everything set up and everything, but there's a lot of things you have to keep track of. There's a lot of you have to keep track of um the the word slipped my head right now, that when they're confused or when they're the
Oh,
status
statuses.
effects. Yeah. Then you're trying to keep track of all the allies. You have to keep track of, there's a lot of windows in this game as well. Like there
Yeah.
when you're first learning this game, and then in the rule book, there's like all these different things you have to track, and everything as during a turn. Um, as much as I like this game, I think that would be the biggest turnoff for some people.
Hmm.
Um, because my initial, like, if I would have just taken this game from the beginning, I would have said lack of campaign play probably. But then they started doing the
That's
campaign
not an
boxes,
issue
right?
anymore.
Right. So that fixed that, I think. But I really do think it's just the fiddliness of trying to track everything, even to the point where I had to replace components with dice to help
Yeah.
help with that, because of all the you're constantly tossing tokens all over the place, and if you just use dice, it
Mm,
just makes it that much easier.
yeah.
um so that was really the biggest aspect for me, um as far as keeping track of all that stuff. um I don't know what your thought is on that, but
Yeah,
that's kind of
it's funny because this one wasn't my top 10 and then it fell out pretty drastically because I just got overwhelmed with the constant expansions, but that's not the flaw I'd pick. Um I I agree. I like your choice. Um I'm trying to think like cuz this game does have so much going for it that it is hard to pinpoint a flaw. Like I think where I'm kind of leaning, it becomes very you get lost in the math and the numbers of the game versus the actual theme. Like, yeah, thematically, I'm Spider-Man fighting Rhino, but I never really feel like I'm Spider-Man fighting Rhino. I feel like I'm discarding cards to pay for another card to get its ability to do damage. And so I think that the numbers of like, okay, I'm really just trying to maximize my damage output here versus try to feel like Spider-Man
yeah, the mechanics
is,
outweigh the theme.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think is where I'd overall lean. Now, that could you as a player can put that theme back into it. If you explain what you're doing with your cards, but if you're one of those players who just wanted to play the game, then it definitely leans more into mechanics than theme. But yeah, I mean, like with Spider-Man, if it's like, oh, I paid for this card to do this really big web swing kick and do 8 damage. It's like, yeah, and then I come in while Rhino's, attacking the bank, and then I swing in, and you can do that, but you can do that with every game. It's just a lot of games help players in that more than this one does. Um, so that's kind of where I'd lean on a flaw. But that's not any reason why it's not my top 10. It's not my top 10 because I have, 18 fucking mini expansions to do on top of character packs that I just haven't been keeping up with.
Yeah, I hear you.
So yeah, but I would also agree with you that there are a lot of windows in a surprisingly simple game to teach. It
Right.
can definitely get muddy uh with later campaigns too, where it's like especially if it's like, okay, we have this boss out, we have this threat out, we have these icons out. And now it's the boss's turn. He went, oh, but he had equipment on him, so that means he's gonna do this. It can also snowball into we're not winning.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
So I'd say your pick would have been better than mine. All right. My number 4 is Too Many Bones. Now, I could have easily went learning curve on this one. Because it's a lifestyle game where it's like pick a gear lock and just learn them. Never play anything else. Just you'll play that one. But I didn't want to have the same reasoning for two different games. So I actually went with the combat is basically a puzzle where you barely do anything with it. Um, this one, then this is why I think it's improved in Elder Scrolls because it's the same type of puzzle where maneuvering and positioning actually matter. And in Too Many Bones, like you're moving just because you want to do something different. A lot of combat in Too Many Bones results in because the top two spots are where the enemies can go, or at least where they spawn, and the bottom two is where you start. If you are a ranged gear lock or the enemies are ranged, you can hit anyone anywhere. So positioning doesn't matter. There's no range. There's no nothing. The only time it actually is a problem is maybe there's a keyword that affects you if you're adjacent, or if you're melee and you're like, well, I gotta go kill that person, so I have to move up to do that. Otherwise, it's like, and I guess I typically play range characters, so it's like plop myself down and I'm there forever. So, and because this game is entirely combat based, you are I mean, you're barely even touching the board after you're done with setup. Which again is not necessarily an issue with this because it's Too Many Bones. It's my number four game of all time. I appreciate that and understand that this combat is not really your typical, dudes on a map or a grid-based combat style game. It is a puzzle, figure out which enemies you need to kill first. However, if you're someone who is looking for likes the character builds of this, but you want to apply that to an actual tactical move maneuvering style combat game, I really don't think you're getting it here. Um, you do get that in Elder Scrolls. Now, a flaw for this now could be, well, Elder Scrolls I think kind of does everything a little bit better. Um, but I don't think that's fair of a flaw to if I'm talking about this game. It's like, oh, well, the flaw with this one is that it's obsolete now. Like I wouldn't have really picked that. However, everything else about this game is really, really good. So it got harder to be like, man, why is this my number four? I have 15 things that I love about it, and one thing that is kind of like, if I had to pick one, the combat is kind of poop.
Yeah.
I would like so. It's not the most exhilarating combat, but it's serviceable. It's quick to set up, and it's still thanky. It is a thanky style combat, and if I mean all combat I think should be thanky. Like I wouldn't say Memoir 44 isn't thanky, but if you're wanting actual tactics and strategy in a larger grid based combat game, you're it's not here at all.
Yeah.
So that's the flaw I came up with Too Many Bones. Another one could be the gear locks are insanely complicated.
Mhm.
That would have definitely been the one I went with if I didn't have Spirit Island do the same style learning curve flaw.
Right. Yep. I'll tell you what mine is here in a little bit.
Sweet.
Yeah. All right. My number four was a game that made a big jump this year, and that's Sky Tier Horde. And I mulled around on this one quite a bit because um, I looked at player count, and I actually played this 3 player,
Oh,
and it still works okay.
okay.
2 player worked when we played it. Solo is my preferred way.
Yeah.
Um, so what I ended up landing on was, and this was my only one that uses this, but rule book inconsistencies. That's what I'll
Okay.
say. Because there's a lot of issues in that rule book that don't get explained, and you have to get online to look stuff up. So
Gross.
um, and from what I understand, that's getting rectified in the whatever the campaign version that we'll be getting eventually, hopefully.
Oh,
Um,
the one that I backed.
yeah, the one that
Okay.
had like the Sky with Terror Horde is a campaign or something like I can't remember what it's called, but it's the next one with this. But so that like if you jump into this game, know that there's going to be a few instances in the rulebook that's going to confuse you. So you'll probably have to get on BGG and look it up. It's a quick look on BGG, but it's still annoying because, especially with monoliths, this was the second iteration, the second box in the Skytear Horde deal. You would have thought they would have fixed it then. Um, but that's the main, only really big issue I can pull from it, because the rest of that game to me, is near perfection for a card game when you start looking at that kind of weird, like MOBA style
Yeah.
type thing, you know. Um, so yeah, I mean that's really all I can say about it. Like, because I mean, you know, this is one I taught to you, and I mean, gameplay wise, I love this setup
Yeah.
and system and everything.
I
It's
had no
just
issues with it.
yeah,
So I didn't have to deal with like the rule book or learning the game. So it worked perfectly fine for me.
right. So once you know the game, though, like, cause it's a fairly easy game. So once you know the game, that rule book is not going to be an issue, you know. But like
Yeah.
for the people that are picking this game up and trying to learn it, know that there's going to be some stuff that the rule book is going to confuse you on. You need to look it up on,
Yep.
um, and stuff like that. Because the setup and teardown's easy on this game. The you know you're creating your deck is really
Hmm.
easy. You know, everything's on that playmat right in front of you. You know, it's a pretty simple system. It's just there's a couple of card effects and different weird stuff like that that get muddled up in the rule book and
Okay.
stuff. So, so
Good deal. Okay. My number three is Frosthaven, which I mean Gloomhaven, Frosthaven, yada yada yada. Um I kind of funny enough, I ended up going a little bit with it's like a 1A, 1B uh issue. So the one that I officially wrote down is exhaustion can happen too quickly, resulting in players sitting for a while. That's the
yep.
1A. The 1B is there is no fail forward. So this is kind of a bigger issue in Gloomhaven. I know the beginning of that is a lot harder for people. However, um, because of the sheer Euro nature of this game, understanding your character and how it works, um, and successfully implementing how like the synergy between all players to overcome the scenario you're in, if you misplay, um, if you misplay, then that could result in you being in the wrong position, getting swarmed by enemies, taking damage, discarding or losing cards to not take that damage, leading you to have very few turns left before because like if you have very few cards and you still have like two or three tiles left to explore, you know you're getting exhausted. Now that doesn't mean the scenario is over. It's not like, oh, if one person goes down, we all lose. The other players get to keep going, but that's not fun for the person who is like, well, all the enemies happened to attack me. I made one mistake, moved forward, and I just got swarmed, so I guess I'll just sit here for 30 to 45 minutes. And maybe if I'm fine with that and hope that you guys beat the scenario, then okay, it's whatever. I learned from my mistake. But if you played for, an hour and a half of a scenario and lost, this is a long, long campaign game that it's like, do it again. No. I mean, that's a simple fix is you just like, well, no one's around. We're not fucking doing it again. I refuse to ever play if your campaign game, especially being insanely long, doesn't have a fail forward system. It does to me. Like I'm gonna keep playing because it, it's I don't have the time. There's a million scenarios in Frosthaven. Uh, and Gloomhaven's even worse with that. I feel like because in Gloomhaven, if this was Gloomhaven, I could have done lack of scenario variety. Every goal pretty much is kill all enemies. Uh, Frosthaven, for how much I have played of it, which I have not beaten Frosthaven, every scenario was pretty much different. So that's rectified here.
Good.
Um, but still, if you do not play efficiently, there is a high chance that you will get exhausted before other players and have to sit there. And then if everyone loses, yeah, technically you have to start over. Now it's a board game, do what you want. I would highly recommend you just say you win and keep going because there's no penalty to losing. Um, you can give yourself a penalty if you want. Like, I guess I could have also went with. I guess another issue I have with this one is if there are loot tokens, there's for some reason some competitive nature of like in Gloomhaven, it's like only I can have the money, so I'm gonna run up and loot and take all this money for me. It's like, isn't this cooperative? Can you like buy stuff for me? No, no, we can't trade. Actually kind of fucking hate you, but I kind of need your skills to keep me alive.
Yeah.
So I've never really jived with that either. This game, again, Frosthaven kind of fixes that because those are bags that you pick up for resources, and that will you could share resources because it goes all into the settlement anyway. So pretty much the major issues I have with Gloomhaven are fixed in Frosthaven. So I went with the exhaustion aspect, and that's not fun to be the only person sitting out.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing I hated about Gloomhaven for such a long time was getting exhausted so fast. But
Yeah.
yeah, I hear you.
Now Jaws of the Lion helps teach you the game, so you
Hmm.
don't do that as much, but there I've definitely I mean, I feel like I'm an experienced Gloomhaven. I'm an experienced Haven player,
Yes.
and even I've been like, okay, I'm gonna move forward, open the door, and I lost. Like, oops, that's gonna suck because
It was a
I'm
heavy
right
door.
here.
I passed out.
Yep, yeah. All those I didn't know there were 10 archers in there, and they just all like were waiting and just pincushion me in the doorway like Pedro Pascal in Gladiator 2.
There you
Your favorite movie.
go. All right. My
Spoiler,
number.
I
Oh,
guess.
yeah.
But hey, I saved you from the only reason to watch that movie is for Pedro Pascal.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. All right. My number three was Burn Cycle.
Oh,
And,
interesting. I wonder where you're gonna go with.
well, there was two things I thought about. One of them was the setup time because
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff, right? But if you have that big playmat that has the spots for everything, it makes it a lot more organized and kind of quicker, especially. And then
Mhm.
now that I have a 3D printed insert, it makes it a lot faster too.
Oh
So
yeah, by the way, Whitney, yeah, where's mine?
I'll get it. I get
Come on.
it. But so anyway, that kind of took that off the table. But what I ended up going with this was the it's a difficult teach for new
Okay.
players because it's a different style of game where you have to it's almost like there's three little games all together,
Hmm.
and you have to teach them how to use the network. You have to teach, and which is a whole separate thing. You have to teach them how to, or the big learning thing is learning how the guards move,
Yeah.
and what that means and stuff, and facing and all that stuff. And then the other part is teaching them what in the hell the burn cycle means and how to get their head wrapped around that. Um, so unlike a lot of the other chip theory games, it's not necessarily a high learning curve for the robot you're controlling, but it's just the overall aspect of all the whole game kind of trying to get it all into a cohesive uh, unit, because if you I've taught this a few times, and somebody could not wrap their head around that network,
Yeah.
like moving the pings and all that stuff around there and everything. And and then the burn cycle was another thing that confused somebody, like
Right.
when you're doing that stuff, you have to reset the burn cycle and all this stuff happens. So
Hmm.
it's just a
I mean,
difficult.
just sneaking alone is
Right.
like, okay, so so where they're facing, they have this range, but then they have half that range everywhere else. And so if they see you, then you have to put your token down on last known spot.
Yeah, so there was a
That's the
lot of
thing.
aspects of this game I could have went with, but I think just saying overall teach, because there is so much going on. Even if you know how to play the game, you still have to really focus when you're playing
Yeah.
to make sure you're doing everything right, not screwing up.
Right.
Um, but I mean, when you have it down and you get it going, though, I mean, it's still just the flipping outstanding game,
Oh yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I went, was just the teach.
Okay.
But
Yeah, I think that's a solid flaw to pick because I couldn't pick one thing out of this one. Um, that I mean, I guess the one thing is that certain floors might be incredibly easy just depending on how the guards come out. If they just go, back and forth, it's like, okay, well, I'm obviously not going over there. Uh, and depending on whenever you go into rooms, how that die rolls for the bot, it's like, oh, hey, there's no one in here. Cool. Like, is it a holiday? Are all the workers at
Yeah.
home? I guess we'll just go in. Um, but I mean, I understand that some cases that will happen because of the sheer variety that this
Mhm.
brings. So
Right.
you could play the same scenario, have different locations of guards, and have completely different outcomes. So that would be a flaw, but then it's an easily fixable flaw. So
Yep.
I think, yeah, rules teaching is a solid one. All right, my number two, which was my number one for a long time, is Sleeping Gods, Distant Skies. And this is specifically for Distant Skies, obviously, because that's what I picked. I actually went with the story is railroaded, essentially telling you what to do and how to do it. Um, and the reason why it's a flaw in this one is because um, the original Sleeping Gods was so open that it had that awesome sandbox feel of, okay, here's where you're at, here's the story, here's the world. What do you want to do? We were told of a cottage up north. I guess we'll head there. But what's this over here all the way to the east? Well, let's just see what that is. It had a sense of exploration similar to an RPG whenever you get out of the tutorial and they tell you, hey, like Skyrim, for example, hey, go to Riften. You're like, got it. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna run left and see what happens. In fact, the Oblivion remake just came out,
Hmm.
and it was like, hey, go talk to oh, I already immediately forgot his name, but go talk to this guy and give him the Amulet of Kings, and it's like, or and the first Sleeping Gods had that. Now, I'm not saying Distant Skies doesn't have that. You are literally able to still go wherever you want. Although you're still limited, kind of more limited because you have a plane and fuel to manage. However, if you're focusing solely on the campaign, the main story, the original, you had to find these totems and you need a certain number of those and kind of wait out the event deck three times. Um, in this one, you already have the totems and you come across them and it's like, hey, you need resources to be able to power these back up. And if you just luck into a lot of high level resources that you can use for lower levels to awaken them, it's like, oh, okay, now we got enough totems, and you pretty much told us to go here to finish the campaign, and we can do that. So, kind of funny enough, the way Seventh Continent and Seventh Citadel, it's like, hey, Seventh Continent's way too big, it's too open, people don't know where to go or what to do. Well, Seventh Citadel almost hard corrected in the opposite way, where it's like, okay, nope, you can only stay here. If you go any further, you can't. You're going to be exhausted, so you kind of have to stick within our parameters. Distance guys didn't go that hard, but when you're comparing both of the games, uh, narratively, I think this one is weaker. I think the waiting out the event deck and exploring in the first one was so much better than, yeah, nope, you know about the totems, so here they are, and go get resources.
Yeah.
And now you can finish the game. You got enough, finish them. Like just go here and now end the campaign, and it's over. Again, that could be a pro to a lot of people, where it's like, oh man, I can actually finish a campaign game. That's nice.
Right.
This was just the flaw I had because overall, mechanically, Distant Skies did everything better. Like, yeah, everything is mechanically better in Distant Skies. Uh, so that was what I went with was Railroaded Story.
Yeah, I can see that. All right. Well, this one will be really fast. My number two was Cthulhu Death May Die, and it
Okay.
was the map tiles, just like we talked about. That
Yeah.
was the main issue with this game. And it seems to be most people's issue if they have an issue with this is just that aspect. So there's really not much more I can reiterate on that. I
All
know
right,
you kind
cool.
of talked about that a lot already.
Yeah.
So
I mean, tiles look good.
yeah, they do.
The
It's just they're
art,
just small.
yeah. I mean, I think they look good. I can't tell because of all those fucking minis that are covering it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
My number one, my new number one, Aeon Trespass Odyssey. Obviously, I didn't go rule book. I could have. It's a 70-page rule book that I still, after I am a third of the way through the cycle two, um, and I still miss. But I wanted to go mechanisms. So I went boss fights, which this is a boss battler, can be won or lost based off die rolls. Um, so this is the one that I picked for randomness. And the reason why that matters is because you are piloting Titans that some can have, you can have specialized Titans that have unique patterns and stuff.
Hmm.
And if you miss every single attack, then the boss is gonna steamroll you. If you hit on every single attack, now this game kind of fixes it a little bit because the boss gets harder and harder the more you deal damage to it. That's their inverted paradigm system. However, you are perfectly able to crit a lot of the attacks, and critting is incredibly huge. So the boss fights, which you do a fair amount of in this, can be very, very swingy. And that can be very frustrating if you're trying to make progression, if you're trying to get resources that you need to unlock to be able to craft certain weapons to kind of make progression in the game, you need to keep winning fights. Now it's not the end of the world if you lose, unless because your Titans are your resources. So if you don't have enough Titans to go out and fight a boss, you actually can lose the campaign. Um, so if you just have a really just bad string of luck and lose like your best, your most unique Titans, then you're left with the regular ones, and it can just kind of compound into, well, bad luck made this campaign harder, but the inverse can be also true. Good luck made this campaign super easy. Now, this is the only flaw I could think of. It's my number one game of all time, so I had a very difficult
Right.
time like coming I mean, the game is insanely expensive. It is like I said, a 70-page rule book. There's a ton of rules, and every cycle has its own rules on top of the rules. It is incredibly long. Like, but all of those I felt like it's like, well, yeah, I mean, sure, it's a campaign game. So I wanted to kind of go with something a little more tangible, which is your entire boss fights do result. Because not only do you have to roll d10s to hit, if you hit, you have to roll other dice to do damage. So you have two instances of, well, I'm able to hit him, but I can't damage him because his defense threshold is too high for this card. So I pretty much, you can have a lot of wasted turns. So
Yep.
that's that's what I went with for my number one. Um, and yeah, this one was a hard one.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. I kind of find myself wanting to try this game at some point, but I'm so far behind it would cost a fortune to
That was the
catch
other
up
thing
on
is
it.
like, yeah, it's about $1,000 to get
Mhm.
everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, God, it's so good though. Like
Hmm.
it's everything about it though is amazing. I mean, everything about all of, it's our top 10 games. So I
Right.
don't foresee us doing this every single year because our 10 isn't going to change all that
Right.
much. Maybe a new game squeaks in, but uh I thought it was fun.
Yep. Yep.
So what's your number one? Oh, I know
Well,
your number one.
my number one is Too Many Bones.
Yeah.
And my flaw is probably the most common talked about flaw with this game, and that is just the steep learning curve of each character. I mean,
Okay.
you brought it up a little bit when you were talking about it for yourself, but um, just I mean, there is a full front and back page for each character of terms and their abilities and all this different stuff. Each one of the gear locks is so drastically different that which is awesome because they are so different, but then you have to totally learn their play style, and it's not just like, you know, here you go, just do this. Like you, each character is so drastic with their dice that they use, their setup, their skill trees, all that stuff. You really have to play a gear lock a couple of times to really start understanding the in and outs with them. And then
Right.
when you sit down with a player that has never played this game and you're trying to teach it, it's almost better if they pick somebody that you know how to control. So you're not
Yeah.
having to go back and read, because then it's easier that way. Because if you're trying to help them and they're just like eyes are glossing over because they're trying, there's so much crap to learn with each person that that's kind of the deal. I've played enough now with most of them that I'm fairly confident on most of them, but there's still
Hmm.
some I still have to go really dig in and look at stuff
Yeah.
just because there's so many intricate differences with each one of them.
The last two times I played this, like with new people, they picked Dart and Stanza.
Oh,
And I'm
Jesus.
like, Stanza, I remember looking at, and I was like, this was with my ex-wife, and I was like, good luck. I don't even get it.
Yeah, stanza is
And
probably the hardest one, I
I think
think.
so. And Dart just had a lot of things that didn't quite make sense. It's like, wait, so are you losing these dice because you're throwing them? It's like that one was just more of a lot of I don't really understand mechanically how this is work. Because if you're losing them, it's like, can you go pick them up? Like it was weird. It was super weird. So yeah, I almost feel like kind of like with Root, like you said, it's like, oh, I've played patches, so here you go. I can help you with this one. You almost have to pick the character for them, which is not fun. It's like, well, I don't want to play a healer. It's like you play the fucking healer
Yeah.
and you like it.
Well, and it's almost one of those things like you just need to like show them all the characters like ahead of time and then be like, which one do you want? And then you
Yeah.
kind of just learn it too, since you kind
Now,
of know. Because if you have a good grasp of the skeleton of the mechanisms, then it makes learning the characters easier. But
yeah.
just starting off as a new player, God, I've tried teaching this to a couple people, and it hurt my brain, I think, worse than it did theirs because it
Yeah.
was,
Now, to be fair, Chip Theory kills it with their social media. So their YouTube channel literally has a video on every single gear lock and
yeah,
how to
oh
play
yeah,
them.
yep, yep,
Um, so I mean, and they're I mean for Burn Cycle, their how to play is amazing. Their how to play for Elder Scrolls is amazing. So even the flaw of it is a steep learning curve, as long as the player going to play this game is a gamer, it's not like, oh hey mom, you want to play too many bones with me. Uh, if they understand games like this, then you can be like, hey, okay, I taught you the game. Now go watch the video or go watch the how to play and then watch the video on the character you want to play.
yeah,
So you might not know the intricacies of it as much or how it's going to synergize well with the character I pick, but at least you will have a somewhat understanding of what your character does.
yeah, yeah. And then it's
So,
just, and I just played this a week or two ago again,
ooh, nice.
and it makes me really appreciate what they did with Elder Scrolls with the baddie chips being double sided.
Oh
So,
man, dude, I know.
so it's like you have to pull all this crap out, and it's like there's all these one chips, all these five chips, and there's all
Yeah.
this stuff, and then Elder
Oh, and
Scrolls
the
is just double
baddie
sided.
wants, yeah, the baddie
Yeah.
wants yellow, green, and blue. All right,
Yeah.
gotta find all those. Yeah.
Hmm.
No, they really streamlined a lot of fiddliness from Too Many Bones in with Elder Scrolls.
Yeah.
I love them both, and I think Elder Scrolls doesn't replace Too Many Bones, but it's like, man, you guys came a long way.
Yep. Exactly.
All right, everyone. That is it. I hope you enjoyed this top 10. This was fun to come up with an issue for every, because I mean, I think a lot of people, the reason why I wanted to do this one was there's so many people out there that just are in denial or have buyer's remorse or whatever it might be that they just like, no, my game, these games are perfect. It's like, well, they're not perfect. They have issues. What I uh, like you may not like. So I think there is value in understanding that there are flaws with the games that we deem to be our favorites.
Right.
Um, so if you're like, well, I really want to try out Too Many Bones, and then you hear what we're talking about, it's like, actually, no. Because the thing about games, and a lot of things in general, is it's not what you like about something, it's what you dislike. It's like a relationship. It's like, well, I want this person to have this, and this. It's like they may have all that, but what don't you want? Because that's really what's going to be the problem. And it applies to games too.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, let us know what you think are flaws with these games, issues that we didn't think of that actually were problems for you, in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.
Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.